Well, it's an hour past Eastern time here in the Maritimes, so I'm usually up at 4 a.m. So try to make this nice and quick and easy, and let's get it done.
I will definitely try my best, Rene. I'll get right into it, man. But I got to take you back to the year 2001, man, where you actually became Mr. Canada bodybuilding national champion. I was wondering if you could actually just tell us a bit more about that bodybuilding championship, and of course, what is actually some great advice you can give the younger generation that's trying to follow in your footsteps into having that phenomenal physique?
Well, my whole reason for getting into the weight room was to become a wrestler. My father, who just passed away last month, always told me, he was a wrestling promoter. He says, look is 50% of the battle in the wrestling business. It's a very cosmetic business. And I knew from being a fan that Vince McMahon was a big bodybuilding follower, advocate, fan. Yeah, he tried to have his own bodybuilding league in the early 90s, the World Bodybuilding Federation, right? You could tell by guys like Ultimate Warrior and Lex Luger and Hulk Hogan and, John Cena. That's the type of look that he wants his world's champion to have, right? So I realized that at a young age. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to make my resume very, very impressive because I knew exactly what I wanted to do ever since I was a small child. And, I started wrestling at a very young age, 14. And I started lifting weights when I was 11. So at that age, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And, in 2001, that's when WCW got bought out. So there was only one game in town. So if you were looking to get a spot with WWE, again, being Canadian is very difficult to get in. You're going to have an impressive resume. So, the thing about bodybuilding contests, they're not predetermined. You got it's not a work. So, I worked my ass off. I first did the provincial contests here in my hometown of Moncton. And then it just so happened after I won those that a week later in Halifax, Nova Scotia was going to be the Nationals. So I dieted for another week and came in tip-top condition, and I ended up winning the Junior Nationals that year. So, I qualified to go to the Worlds in Spain that year, but my goal, my passion was pro wrestling. So, I had that title and I had those pictures to put in my resume to when I sent it off to the WWE headquarters, and it worked because I got invited to a tryout about a month later, 2 months later.
And I gotta say, it's crazy as well because when you actually mentioned how Vince McMahon really wanted that big physique champion, that's how it was back then. It's weird, even before he actually sold the company recently. I noticed a lot of their champions, like they were muscular, but they weren't like Batista big or like Hulk Hogan big. It was weird. I really wonder what actually changed that mindset of him, or if maybe it was his different creative directors that kind of put the bug in his ear. Was like you can't always have the masculine individuals winning.
Well, I kind of have to disagree because Roman Reigns isn't exactly a slouch, and LA Knight, who they're now pushing, looks really good. And John Cena for the last 20 years was what did he call himself? The face that runs the place. All right, again, former bodybuilder. He competed in the Mr. Teen USA. Batista was also a bodybuilder, competed. His son-in-law, Hunter Hearst, was New Hampshire, Mr. Teen New Hampshire. You understand? Yeah. Talking with top guys now. Have you looked at The Rock's Instagram? He looks more like a bodybuilder than any time before, doesn't he?
He does actually.
He does, yeah.
He looked more beefy in the Fast movies than he actually did on television.
Right. So, one of his best roles that I thought was him in Pain and Gain, where he played, he was basically a bodybuilder, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as your other part of your question was people who want to attain your physique, diet and genetics are 85% of the battle. Okay, some people just aren't meant to be big and muscular. Some people aren't meant to be super ripped. That's the genetic parts. I'm 6'3". That's my genetics. I'm a ectoendomorph bone structure. That's my genetics. But everything else is diet and hard work and consistency. You know, you have to give yourself at least 12 to 16 weeks of consistent dieting and training to start seeing results. A lot of people give up too easy. You know, if you want something in life, you have to go for it and never quit. There. That's the best I can
And
do on
also,
that question.
as well, on June 15th of 2003, yourself and Sylvain actually won the World Tag Team Championship by defeating Kane and Rob Van Dam at Bad Blood, which actually made you the youngest wrestler in WWE history to actually win a championship at the age of 19. I was wondering, when did actually yourself and Sylvain actually get told that you were going to be winning the titles? And of course, how did the locker room actually perceive you actually being the soon-to-be youngest champion once they actually heard the news?
Um, there's a lot of jealousy in wrestling. Okay, it would actually blow your mind to see how some of the biggest superstars in the world are incredibly insecure humans, myself included at times. It's a very competitive environment, and especially at that time, there was only one company. There was only one North American company where you could make money. So a lot of professional jealousy, a lot of competition, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of politics. You understand? Uh, when did we find out? Probably a couple weeks before. I can't recall. We're talking 20 years ago. But I didn't even realize that I became the youngest. It didn't click till actually after I left the company. You know, I didn't really think about that. You know, for me, it was just, okay, it's a stepping stone. I got this title. Boom. What's next? I didn't, bask in the glory, so to speak. You know, it was good for about 5 minutes when I initially won it. Got to hold the belt up in the air. Okay. About 5 minutes later, okay, what's next on the agenda? I just kept thinking about going higher and higher and higher. You understand? Yeah.
And I just gotta say, first and foremost, you deserve so much more credit just within the World Wrestling Entertainment alone, man. You were such a phenomenal wrestler that I really wished they would have put the World Heavyweight Championship on you, man. I think you would have had a phenomenal run if they would have gave you that opportunity.
Well, it was my decision to leave. I was 23. I still had 2 years remaining on my contract. When I asked for my release, they wouldn't grant it to me at first. They told me to wait a week and think about it. I actually showed up in Raw. I believe it was in Corpus Christi, Texas, because I was living in Houston at the time. I drove to Corpus Christi. Vince knew. Stephanie actually refused to shake my hand. Johnny Ace told me that he didn't tell anybody, but you can't believe that guy if his forehead was notarized. Pat Patterson sat with me for about 30 minutes and tried to convince me to stay. And when I told them I was leaving, they couldn't believe it, But a lot of things, the Chris Benoit incident had just happened. Financially, I was not happy with, even though I had signed a contract for X amount of dollars, you always make above that. But over the years, my money had been going down, down, down. I had been informed by actually Brian Hebner, the former referee, the week prior that he had heard. See, that's what they do. They'll send people to go talk to you to kind of like plant a seed in your head, like, hey, listen, there's good things going to happen soon, right? So Brian had sat down with me and was like, yeah, I heard you're going to start on Raw real soon. So actually what had happened was I went to visit. It was in Dallas. I had been off for about 3 or 4 months, and I was living in Houston, so I decided to drive to Dallas. As soon as I showed up to TV, Vince saw me. They called Paul London from Austin to drive in, and they were going to put me on Saturday night's main event that night. So just by me showing up and Vince seeing me, they had booked me on Saturday night's main event. But the thing is, when they saw my wrestling attire, it wasn't very flattering. So they X-named the match. It could be like, it would blow your mind if a regular fan would understand just how it works and how a simple thing like maybe the color of your boots or the color of your gear could turn a guy like Vince McMahon off on you. It's weird. Yeah. But anyway, the following week I asked for my leave and I walked out. But initially the whole plan was I was going to take a year or two off, just wrestle the independents. I really wanted to go to Japan. That had always been a goal and dream of mine. And then I, go back. But once I got to Japan, I signed the contract and I loved it. And I ended up staying there for 15 years.
And one of the last WWE questions I actually have is in 2005 edition of Friday Night SmackDown, you actually had the opportunity to share the ring and take on Booker T and the late great Eddie Guerrero. Well, with your tag team partner, Kenzo Suzuki. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about just working in the ring with Eddie Guerrero. And of course, well, what was it like just actually his in-ring ability, man? Because obviously from a fan standpoint, one of the best wrestlers to ever step in the ring, but I can only imagine his energy and just being able to work side by side with him, like actually inside the ring.
Unfortunately, got cut short because Booker T had broke my nose in that match. He gave me a back elbow. If you go watch that match back, he gives me a back elbow and shatters my nose, and I was completely knocked out. So what I had planned to do with Eddie got cut short. But just locking up with him, he was one of the smoothest people I've ever been in a ring with. When you've done this for years and years and years, you can tell just by locking up with the guy if he has it or not and what type of worker he is. You understand? And Eddie was one of the best. The funny thing about that match, it actually happened on my 21st birthday. It was December 15th of 2004. I turned 21. And directly after that match, we got on a plane, military plane, and headed to Iraq for tribute to the troops. I believe it was in Tennessee, possibly Nashville, Tennessee. And I got on a plane to go to Iraq with a broken nose and a massive concussion on my 21st birthday. Welcome to the wrestling business, kid.
It must have been just surreal as well going to an actual war zone just to actually wrestle, man. I couldn't imagine doing that.
Yeah. Great times. I mean, it was an experience, obviously, but I didn't, I thought I was going to the Middle East. Shouldn't it be warm? Hell no. It's Canada cold in the wintertime over there. And it was an outdoor show. And I got food poisoning when I got over there. I'm known to be a very clean eater. I watch what I eat. So if I have any type of foreign type spices or anything, like, it does not settle with my stomach at all. And I ended up eating some beef patties that might have been undercooked. I don't know. We're in a fucking war zone. Excuse my language. But anyway, I got food poisoning, and let's just say it was coming out both ends. And again, 21st birthday, massive concussion, broken nose, food poisoning, wrestling in your underwear in about minus 30-degree weather outside. Hell of a time.
Honestly, that just sounds like absolute torture and absolute hell, but at least you're getting paid for it. That's the main thing, at least.
It wasn't enough. Yeah. I make more per shot now than I made for that show. So, but at least I can say I did it, right?
But I have to ask, what is one of your most fondest memories you actually shared with Eddie? And of course, do you actually remember your last interaction you actually had with him?
Some of the best advice he ever told me was, Rene, you do what you got to do to survive. You do whatever it takes to survive. Screw what anybody else thinks. You do what's right for you and do what you have to do. And that's actually advice that I'll give any young wrestler today. You do what you got to do to survive. So thank you, Eddie.
And also as well, you were actually the host of the hit wrestling YouTube show titled Calf de Rene. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about your amazing about your amazing YouTube channel, and of course, like what can we expect next from it? Because I do know you have amazing interviews almost every single week, actually, on this amazing YouTube channel.
Well, it started during the pandemic, the lockdowns. I couldn't travel, and for a guy that's used to being on the road 8, 9, 10 months out of the year, that was a cult, So this fan, basically, his name's James from England, contacted me to do his YouTube show, and I had nothing to do. And then after doing it, he realized that his numbers were really good. So then he kind of asked me if I want to start one on my own. Again, we're in the middle of a lockdown, nothing to do. I'm going stir crazy, locked inside. Okay, let's try it. And after about 6 months, I started making money. Will be year 2 in January, and it makes as much as a very well paying 9 to 5. So let's just keep doing it, and people seem to enjoy it, right?
And I mean, the topics of conversation just on your show is absolutely phenomenal, man. I watched your most recent one with Chavo Guerrero, and just the things you guys spoke about. Like, I've learned some stuff even as a fan, like just from watching your YouTube. So definitely, if you keep making it, I'm definitely going to keep watching it.
Well, my motto is no BS. Tell the truth. We're fed so much lies in this world, but either by the news or by social media, there's so much bullshit out there that it should be refreshing to sometimes hear honest opinions from and the truth from people, right? And that's what it's about. And I think people, reality TV is a big hit, but a lot of that reality TV is scripted. So let's give them some real reality, and give people's honest perspective on a business that'll have millions of people enjoy, right? Yeah.
And I will say my favorite episode of yours that I actually watched so far is the one where you actually yourself and Kurt Angle actually had like a 2-hour long conversation, man. The things that you guys talked about was amazing.
Yeah, I don't really remember that one, but if you liked it, cool.
Well, you do a lot of them, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, same with me. I do so many interviews that people actually say, I like the interview you did a year ago, and I'm like, I know I did it, bro, but I don't remember what we talked about.
Yeah, we do 2 shows a week for the past 2 years, so it's kind of, they all blend in.
Yeah, it
together.
definitely gets foggy.
Yeah.
But also, this Saturday, November 4th, you will actually be competing here in Renfrew, Ontario at Great North Wrestling for Renfrew Reckoning, where you'll be taking on the newly crowned GNW Canadian champion, Magna McLaren. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us fans, what can we actually expect from your up-and-coming GNW match this Saturday? And, of course, do you have any words that you actually want to say to your opponent if he is watching tonight?
Well, this won't be my first appearance for Great North Wrestling. I think I've gone there about half a dozen or more times already. I am a former Great North Wrestling heavyweight champion. Every time I've gone for that promotion, it's always professional and very well attended. So they know how to promote, which I enjoy, because I'd rather wrestle in front of a packed crowd than a bunch of empty seats. That's no fun at all, right? For those who haven't seen me yet, I've spent 15 years in Japan wrestling a Japanese style, which is extremely physical and MMA-based style. So my wrestling that you saw in America and WWE is not the same. It's not the same as I used to be, As far as Magnum McLaren, is that his name?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
It's a young kid, right?
Very young, actually. I actually just got told he's actually like 17, which when Jack Kilby told me that, I was like, really? He's 17? He doesn't look 17. He looks older, but...
Right. Well, let's just say I've got more shower time than he has ring time, meaning I spent more time in the shower washing my ass than he has in the ring. So let's just say bring your best, kid, but it's time for you to go to school, and I'm going to be your teacher.
Well, I got to say is I'm glad that I'm actually there behind the barricades this Saturday rather than being in the ring, because I don't know. I know you are a tough wrestler, and I wouldn't want to be face to face in that ring. So I know Magnum has his work cut out for him this Saturday.
Yeah, you might want to put some cream on your get some cream for your chest, because it's going to be quite blistered. Trust me.
I bet you any money we're going to be hearing those chops all the way up, all the way around the Renfrew Armories. We're going to hear chop after chop, and it's going to be echoing.
I could almost guarantee it.
But before we actually part ways here this evening, Renee, I have to ask, aside from, November 4th, Great North Wrestling, what is next on the agenda for yourself? Is there any more wrestling events actually coming up that you have booked? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote?
Um, well, just the YouTube channel Cafe de Rene. I do have some scheduled appearances wrestling starting next year. I took some time off. Again, my father had been dealing with some health issues and recently passed away. So the last year and a half, I kind of quit touring and took care of him because family comes first in my book. But now that he's passed away, I really don't need wrestling financially. I do it because I love it and it motivates me to keep myself in shape and keep looking good. Health, wealth, and happiness is the key to life. You might be seeing me more in America. I'm just going to leave it at that, but just keep your eyes open because you never know where the French Phenom's going to pop up next. Expect the unexpected with Rene Dupree. Trust me.
And before we part ways, I have to ask, how do we actually follow you on social media? Like, obviously, I know how to follow you, but for the individuals that aren't social media savvy, how do they actually go about following the French Phenom?
You don't, because I don't exist on social media. If you want to follow me, Cafe de Rene on YouTube. Please subscribe and watch me on Mondays and Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern. I don't believe in telling the world what I have for dinner, lunch, and breakfast, and where I'm going or where I've been. You want to see me? Go on YouTube, subscribe, and click on it and watch my videos. Thank you.
And definitely make sure you let the ads play because ads is what pays them. So just go make yourself a sandwich while the ads play.
Just put it on mute and just just let it rotate all night as you're sleeping. Video after video. There you go. I appreciate that.
But I got to say, first and foremost, Rene, thank you so much for your time here this evening and just chatting. Definitely we'll see you this Saturday. But for now, definitely have yourself a phenomenal night. And, of course, safe travels to Renfrew, Ontario.
All right. This Saturday night, Renfrew, Ontario, Great North Wrestling, 7 p.m. bell time. See me kick some ass.
Definitely, Rene. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great night.
You too.